as president, I have a unique responsibility to try and make this town work. So to everyone who voted, I want you to know that I hear you. To the 2/3 of voters who chose not to participate in the process yesterday, I hear you too.
There are those who insist that simply by listening to winners and losers, you can tell how they really feel. Balderdash. It's in the way you move that reveals all. And this week with the midterm elections, more than ever, it's those subtle moves that betray everything. So let's welcome back to Midpoint, an expert in such affairs, also co-author of The Tome That Will Assist in Such Matters, Reading People, How to Understand People and Predict Their Behavior Anytime, Anyplace. Wendy Patrick joins us. Wendy, pleasure to have you on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's go ahead and start right out with the president. First of all, we just heard the president here. Now let's go ahead. We've heard a little bit, we've seen him, and he seems to be reading from a script constantly. But as you see that interview right there the day after the midterms, what comes through to you?
I'll tell you, one of the very first things that I noticed about this interview was his eyes. He comes out with great words, and if this is really a good example of the transcript test, if you simply read a transcript of what he said, a lot of it sounded really good. But his eyes don't match the rest of what he's saying. The words are very gracious, although it would be a neat trick to hear voters who haven't spoken. But for the most part, he said a lot of gracious things for the Republican Party, but his eyes looked like he was about to get into a fight.
So it's anger that's coming through is what you're saying. The eyes, you can see how angry he really is.
Angry, frustrated, uncomfortable. You know, a lot of people look angry when they feel uncomfortable. And surely after this election, in a forum as he's speaking, you can imagine he feels a bit uncomfortable. And that came through loud and clear simply by looking at his eyes.
All right, let's go to Kentucky now, and let's go see and hear Allison Grimes right after the midterm elections.
My hope is the message has been sent to Congress that we need to work to increase the minimum wage, to close the gender pay gap, and to bring good-paying jobs back to the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
All right, so using the arms very well, very emphatic, trying to get her point across, because here it is. I've lost. I was crushed. It's time to go ahead and at least get something out of the way. Was she at least gracious and get her point across body-wise in defeat?
Absolutely. There's a couple of things that really stand out in her speech. It was almost a concession speech masquerading as a campaign speech. Her eye contact was dynamite. She wasn't reading from notes, unlike some of the other candidates. She made use of the hammer. She kept, really emphasizing the main point she wanted to make. You believe that she has another political race in mind. She's eyeing another opportunity, and she made really good use of a concession speech, especially through eye contact with the audience. She really connected.
Stand right up there. Go ahead. Take your punishment and come right back the next day. There's the way it goes all the time. Okay, move on to Iowa now. Republican U.S. Senator-elect Joni Ernst. Some people are not real fond of her. She's, of course, the one who had some great commercials beforehand in trying to get elected, talking about castration, which is certainly the first time we've seen that in any sort of a midterm election run. But she had quite a different tone in her victory speech. Here we go.
From the biscuit line at Hardee's to the United States Senate. But thanks to all of you, we are heading to Washington. And we are going to make them squeal.
All right, that's going to probably be, if she ever runs for president, you can honestly say you'll see her hands go up, fingers. We will make them squeal. You know that this is coming here. Now, she's very effusive. She's very happy. But I can also tell you that there's a number of people who said the laugh is a little bit creepy. So what did you see here body-wise?
You know, the laugh is what most of us remember about the speech. A lot of us heard it on the radio. Now, to see her, I mean, she looks great. You know, that great color, she looks like $1,000,000. But to listen, most of us were so distracted by the laugh. And because winning an election, it isn't funny, but there are lots of people that laugh when they're happy. Nonetheless, because most of us don't behave that way, it was something that I believe detracted from what was otherwise a great speech. But I gotta agree with you. The making them squeal comment, that kind of raised eyebrows. What does that mean? And you're right, that is something that'll be cited in the future. But I mean, she looked great. It was just a matter of, even if that's the way she responds when she's happy, perhaps it would have been something not to do in this speech so that it doesn't detract from all the great things that she said.
Oh, no, that's her mantra now. Are you kidding? That's her trademark now. Castration and make them squeal. She's going to live with that now her entire political career. All right, now let's go and move on to Arkansas now. The Democratic Senator, Mark Pryor, he lost a very heated race. In his speech, though, said he's ready to take the gloves off. He is defiant. Let's see how he looks.
I've just called Tom Cotton to congratulate him on his victory. I wish him the very best as he takes this seat on the Senate floor, and I want you to know that he will be in my prayers. That's part of taking off the red jersey and taking off the blue jersey, right? We all need to help him do his job.
Wendy, he was really not really very excited in his speech, and it kind of came through, didn't it?
Yes, it was subdued compared to a lot of the other campaign speeches.
Subdued? It was comatose.
One of the other things I noticed, Ed, about his speech is it was really characterized with humility. It may not have been the most exciting speech that we've ever seen, but you really felt for him. He didn't take the approach of sour grapes bitterness. There was none of that. There wasn't a lot of eye contact. Nonetheless, to listen to the words that he said, it was one of the most humble concession speeches that we've heard in the last couple of days. So to that effect, although it really was a lot more down on the register, as they say, in terms of enthusiasm, he really was sort of expressing himself in a fashion that we can all relate to. So I'm going to pray for him, take off the red and blue jerseys. There was a lot of good content. I actually wondered if he might not be eyeing another race, given how gracious he was in the face of defeat.
All right, here we go. 30 seconds left. Finally, Tom Cotton defeated Mark Pryor, a very confident victory speech.
The people of Arkansas tonight have made their choice. We have again chosen constitutional self-government, which allows each of us to flourish according to his abilities in industry, to live with the blessings of civil and religious liberty, to live as free men and women under law, and to control our government rather than be controlled by it.
15 seconds to you. A little rehearsed, don't you think?
In 15 seconds, a couple things. It sounded rehearsed, it sounded practiced, and one of the keys to giving a good acceptance speech is being able to really balance confidence with humility and warmth in order to be likable to your constituents. So that's, I hope, what some viewers got out of this, but there could have been a bit more warmth, because when you have everything rehearsed, it's hard to come across as genuine. You're absolutely right in pointing that out.
Heading for 2016 as well. Wendy Patrick, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. And Midpoint, the Friday edition, will continue.